listening to the Calm Mind, Confident Life podcast, full of guided meditations, relaxation audios, and an abundance of tips from inspiring people around the globe. This podcast is here to help you cultivate calm and embrace the power and freedom of believing in yourself. With your host and founder of Value Your Mind, Nathalie Keeley. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad to at last be getting to talk to you again. It's been a really busy couple of weeks, a crazy couple of weeks as it has been for everyone. But in the last 6 weeks, I was also away in Costa Rica for a month and then came straight back to work. And then last weekend, I was hosting a retreat. So it's been really, really busy. And then obviously doing all that whilst having to navigate my way through this really anxiety-provoking time and knowing how to feel like I can still offer some support to people and feel like I'm able to help people, and how to do that is something that I've been thinking a lot about. And of course, this podcast is a really useful way that I can connect with you all, and so I'm very, very grateful for this community that we have here. And I hope that this podcast is something that you guys can use as a way of connecting with people and feeling like you have the support that you need whilst maybe in isolation and having to avoid actual physical contact with people. And of course, I'm referring to the coronavirus that's going on right now in the world. From conversations that I've been having with people, it's just, there's just a real sense of anxiety in the air at the moment. And of course, anxiety is something we all experience and we talk a lot about within this community, but to experience it on such a global level, it really does take it to another level. And of course, usually when we're experiencing anxiety or any kind of difficulties with our mental state, one of the primary tools that we use and I advise using is connecting with people, looking to your friends and family and community for support. And so it feels a very alien concept to be actually doing the opposite and isolating ourselves, which often can exasperate these symptoms. And so I kind of I share that feeling of fear, and but I hope that in having this space that can ease some of that anxiety. And during the retreat, actually, the theme of the retreat was gratitude, and so we talked a lot about that and how it's a really important tool to use in times of trauma or difficulty, because it's something that we can use no matter how crap things are in life. There is always something to feel grateful for, even if it's those small little things. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit today on the podcast and share some other tips with you that hopefully you can take away to instantly release some of that anxious energy that we're all carrying around with us. And I'll also, as always, share a little meditation I've created, which again will hopefully release some of that anxiety that you're holding. So the first tip that I wanted to talk about a little bit more is this idea of gratitude. I know it's a foreign concept when the world is struggling to think about being grateful, but as I said, no matter how difficult things get, we can always find just one thing to hold on to that we can be grateful for. For example, something my guests and I spoke about a lot during the retreat was actually being grateful for technology and the internet. I know we all have our gripes at times with how the technology and the internet can actually impact our mental well-being, but at times like this, when we can use it as a tool to help us find communities and connect with people. It really does feel like quite a savior in this moment. And there's already so many communities that we have online, just like this one that we have here. But we also can take real life communities online too if we haven't done that already. My brother, he lives in another country to me, and he might not be able to see his friends and family for months now. But with the beauty of FaceTime, we can actually still physically see each other's faces. And you can even create group video calls via things like Google Hangouts and lots of other platforms that are available on the internet. So maybe, instead of the next Friday night at the pub, instead it's organising a Friday night, Google Hangout with wine or a cocktail that you've made at home, and just chatting with your friends and just sharing in how you're feeling and how your lives are going. Yeah, using gratitude, it's a way that we can turn our mind to a more positive place and really send that message to our mind that there is always something in the moment that can bring us that little bit of joy and happiness. But not only that, it is also a way of taking us away from the negative predictions and scenarios of the future, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we do know what's here right now. The grass, nature, the trees, the way as humans we face adversity and have the strength to show up still every day with kindness to others. Those things are really things to be grateful for, and that I am expressing every day in my mind as things that I'm grateful for. When you find that your thoughts have become clouded or anxious, I think it's really helpful to just stop and think, what am I grateful for in this moment? But even better than that, maybe now is the time to start more of a regular gratitude practice. And what I mean by that is every morning or before you're going to bed, waking up and thinking of 3 things that you're grateful for. Because this is a way of training our mind and reminding our mind that in this moment there is something. There is something here in this moment. Something here that can bring us that sense of connection, of calm energy, and of strength. So I wanted to do a little bit of an exercise quickly now with you, just to kind of get you to be thinking about that idea of gratitude. So together, let's just take a pause and think of one thing we are grateful for right now. So just close off your eyes and take a very deep cleansing breath in. And then as you exhale, just breathe out the tension. Just release your shoulders, release your jaw, and allow just one thing you're grateful for to come into your mind. As I said, it could be just something really simple, just like your breath, the inhale, the exhale. Maybe it's the contact that your body has with the earth. Maybe it's the trees outside your window. Maybe it's your pet that you have with you. Just one thing that you're grateful for. And now, as you next breathe in that space where the tension was, allow yourself to instead fill that space with gratitude. And breathe out that sense of gratitude. And when you're ready, you can just open your eyes again. So the next tip that I wanted to talk to you guys about is grounding. Of course, gratitude practice is a way of grounding us to the moment, and maybe you felt that just now, that kind of just slow sense of just bringing your mind back into the moment. But there's also an exercise I wanted to share with you that can help kind of ground you even more. Because when things feel very up in the air, our mind can do this thing where it begins to get really preoccupied with all the things that are out of our control, primarily the future and the unpredictability of it. And so when we focus on what we can't control, it just increases the anxiety tenfold. However, if we focus on what we do know and ground ourselves to this moment, it can help bring in more sense of stability, and that in turn eases this anxiety. So, the grounding exercise that I want to go through with you is a really, really simple one, and you can use it wherever you are, literally. So, the grounding exercise that I am talking about is where we slowly work through each of our senses. So, it's the 5 senses grounding exercise. So, the first thing you would do is you think of 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things you can touch or feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So you go from 5 to 1 through see, hear, touch, smell, taste. And if you don't get it in the right order, it doesn't really matter. But the idea is just by drawing our awareness to our senses, it can really help bring in that sense of grounding. So we'll do it now. If you just initially think of those 5 things that you can see. And then 4 things that you can hear. 3 things that you can touch or feel. 2 things that you can smell. And that's a little harder sometimes. Don't worry if you can't, find all the things that you need to. And then 1 thing that you can taste. And that's it. So it just brings this in this sense of really drawing yourself back to this very moment, because in this moment, there is no anxiety. It is just this very moment where there's no future, there's no past. It's just you're right here, just in the present. And as I said, you can use it anywhere. So it's a really great, simple tool to use. And if you think you'd forget it, but you think it's a useful one that you want to use, then just jotting it down on your phone in your notes section of your phone, and you can refer back to it. In fact, all the tips that I'm sharing, actually, it might be worth just jotting on your phone, just so that you've got them as a little kind of reminder to help you when your anxiety peaks. So, the third tool that I want to talk about is, of course, your breath. I couldn't go through a podcast episode about anxiety without talking about your breath. This tool is available to everyone. It works very quickly on reducing the physiological symptoms of anxiety, such as increased heart rate, butterflies in your tummy. And it does all this by calming the nervous system down. But it also helps distract us away from those anxious thoughts that may be whirling around our mind. So, this exercise, there's lots of breathing exercises out there, and many I've shared on this podcast, but this one's just a very super simple one. And I actually use it with young people a lot. So, if you've got children at home and you're feeling like they might be quite anxious, great one to do with them. I might have even mentioned it on the podcast before, because it really is a super simple breathing exercise and has great, great effects. So you just close off your eyes, and then you imagine that there's a balloon in your belly. And as you breathe in, you imagine that you're breathing into that balloon, and that you're filling it up all the way up until it can't fill up anymore. And then slowly imagine that you are releasing air from the balloon as you breathe out. Just very gradually, your tummy becomes soft, your shoulders relax. And when you've exhaled all the breath out, just follow this process again. Breathing in and filling up the balloon. Your belly and your chest really expand out on that inhale breath. And when it feels like it won't fill up anymore, you gradually let that exhale breath go. You let the balloon slowly reduce down in size. And I think this exercise is best done with your eyes closed and your hands on your belly, so you can really bring all that intention to that space. But of course, if you're out and about and you need to do it discreetly, it can work equally well with your eyes open. So again, another tool that you can use wherever you are. Very simple, easy to do, and it has some really, really good impacts on the mind and body. The fourth tip that I wanted to talk to you about is being creative about how you can be part of your community. Because I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, feeling connected to others is important at any stage for our mental well-being, but especially at times like this when isolation is a reality that many of us are facing. So simple things like if you can talk to your neighbours, then that's a great thing to do, especially if you've got elderly neighbours. You know, that's a real worry for me at the moment, is thinking about how isolated they must feel. But also, it's getting on those online community groups. So Facebook has some amazing community groups up. Facebook has some amazing community groups up already, and you can tap into those if you haven't already. Specifically, there are local ones. So you might find that your neighborhood already has a local community Facebook group. So if you're not part of that, definitely join it, because there'll probably be a lot of people on there talking, sharing their experiences. And just in doing that can help us feel less alone, less isolated. But if you have noticed that maybe there isn't a group that you feel you can tap into, or your local community doesn't have one, then maybe be the kind of lead on that and start one up. Because I know for a fact there will be people that will 100% value it, and so will you. If you can't meet up face to face with your friends and family, organize an online catch up. I know it feels sometimes a bit weird to do that, a bit a bit of an alien concept to do that, but this is a time when we can really tap into the platforms that are offered online, the spaces that are offered for us to connect with people. The fifth tip and last tip that I want to share is, of course, meditation. So I'm going to share now with you a really lovely meditation that I have started to practice in the last couple of days, and it's really helped me in kind of remaining calm and feeling that sense of stability and security in my day. It's quite a short meditation, so it's one that you can kind of easily bring into your busy days. I would ideally suggest, if you can, being in ragdoll position for this one. And to make it more relaxing, I would suggest your back or your bum being against a wall. So if you don't know what I mean by ragdoll, if you don't practice yoga, what I mean is to stand up and then just forward fold, hinging from the hips and allowing your upper body to hang over the legs. So, if you can be supported by a wall, this will usually just take the pressure away from your legs having to work as hard. So, as I said, just kind of shimmy up against a wall, just let your upper body hang over, your arms, your hands can be just kind of relaxed down to the earth, and just kind of, allow yourself to be relatively relaxed in this position. You want everything to feel nice and loose. If you need to take a little bend in the knees so that there's not as much tension in the legs, then do that also. The reason to do this meditation like this is because in this posture, you're in an inversion, which actually reduces the stress away from the heart. So it kind of gives it a little break. And when we're anxious, our heart tends to work on overdrive. So by doing this, it's just allowing the heart to have a little bit of a break. Of course, if this feels too awkward for you as a position, then just come to cross-legged or seated on a chair, and maybe just allow your body to hang over your legs in this position. So once you're ready, Once you're in whatever position you want to be in, then just closing off the eyes. And now together we'll take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Taking a breath in, and then next time on the exhale, really loudly sigh all that air and tension out. And now anchor to your feet. Feel the points of connection with the stable earth beneath you. The earth provides this real unwavering sense of support, so send gratitude to your feet and the earth beneath it. And then taking another deep breath in, deep breath out. Move that full sense of awareness now up to your hips and your belly. As you keep breathing here, allow every exhale breath to gently soften the muscles around the hips and the belly. Just release any tension that you're holding onto in these spaces. Give yourself permission to really release that tension. We hold a lot of stress in the hips and a lot of anxiety in the belly. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're holding on to tension here. So just by taking this moment, it's just bringing that sense of awareness to your body and recognizing if you're actually holding on to tension in the body. So just be super aware of that now and allow it all to release and soften with every breath that you take. And with that same intention, move now your awareness up to your heart space. Breathe in here, expand the chest, and as you exhale, allow that whole space to soften. Keep breathing in and allow the ribs to open and expand. Allow the lungs to fill up with new, fresh breath. Allow the heart to soften. And now, moving that awareness up to your shoulders, release the shoulders. Release the weight of the world from your shoulders. Take a breath into the upper chest and the back of the shoulders and feel it all expand and gently release on that soft, easy exhale breath. Feel that sense of ease and release spread out from your shoulders through the rest of the body, and with every inhale, feel yourself breathing in more sense of release. And with every exhale, feel a softness flood through all your muscles. And again, just give yourself permission to release and soften. Sometimes it is about that. It's about giving ourselves permission. And now just sit with that ease. Sit with that soft energy that you're creating here. If at any point you feel tension start to grow again, any thoughts, anxious thoughts come up, Just breathe into it, inhaling, breathing in that sense of release. Exhaling, breathing out that sense of ease. And send gratitude to yourself now for that ease that you have the power to bring into your body and mind. The power you have to bring that ease into your body and mind at any moment that you want. Send yourself gratitude. And you can sit with this feeling as long as you want, but whenever you're ready, just slowly blinking open the eyes to end the practice. And that brings me to the end of this episode. So I really hope that you guys have found the tips useful. To summarize, we spoke about gratitude. We spoke about using a gratitude practice, but also thinking about asking yourself, what are you grateful for when you notice those thoughts of anxiety come up? We talked about grounding technique and using the 5 senses. We talked about using your breath and the balloon breathing, being part of your online community and creating one if there isn't already there, and then, of course, using meditation. Thank you guys all for joining me so much. And if you have any other tips to share that you're finding useful during this time, please do share them. We have a community space which is on the Facebook group called Calm Mind, Confident Life, which there'll be a link in the show notes. And I really would encourage you all to become as active as possible on there and support one another during this time. I think it's always helpful to support one another, and it's something that I'm always trying to promote in everything that I do. But hopefully during this period of anxiety, we can really draw on the community that we have here and really help one another, because that at the end of the day is the most important thing. So thank you again, and if you have any questions or you want to get in touch with me, my door is always open. Just drop me an email, or as I said, just contact me on the Facebook community group. And I am going to try and aim to get another podcast episode out to you a little sooner, a little quicker than I usually do, just to kind of help us all through this time. So I will keep you posted on that. But if you have anything in particular that you would like me to address in the next episode, then let me know, because I'd be happy to offer any support and advice that you guys think will be useful. So yeah, again, just drop me an email and let me know of anything that comes up that you think will be useful. So until next time, thank you as always for listening and joining me in this space. And I look forward to speaking to you in a few weeks' time.